Well, the Sixers are a loser franchise, and they'll never win anything as long as I'm alive. So I
knew
could
that was
care
coming.
less what they have to say.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Let me take away with
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Summit. I'm Antonio Perez, joined as always by Danny Cole, DC, UPenn's finest, and then we got Chris Culture, CB, Culture Boy. We got another great episode for you guys today. The Miami Heat have just moved on to the NBA Finals for the second time in 4 years, and the first 8th seed since the New York Knicks back in 98, I believe, with Patrick Ewing in the gang. And they'll be taking on Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets in their first ever finals appearance. So we'll be talking about all that. We'll be talking about the losing team on the other end of this, which is the Boston Celtics. We talked about the Lakers offseason.
Don't forget about the
on our
Lakers.
last.
Don't forget
We talked
about the
about
Lakers, man.
Danny, if you would not cut me off for 5 seconds. We talked about the Lakers last week, so if you want to go check that out, it is the last episode that we posted. If you're on YouTube, you can find it right on the channel. Make sure you subscribe and like while you're here. If you're listening on audio platform, again, it's the previous episode. Make sure you download, like, give us a 5-star rating, and then vice versa. Head on to the other platform and show love. And then at the end, we're gonna be playing a game. We're gonna draft Ringless players all time. So, for example, if this was a dunk contest, like I would take Levine first, and then Chris would take Aaron Gordon, Danny would take Michael Jordan, and then he'd get it'll go snake order and whatever. But with that so far down the road, we're going to get into good summits, plummets, can be anything. Danny, you weren't with us last week, so we can start with you. Danny, how are you doing, man?
It's officially time that all three of our teams are in Cancun. So that is a plummet for all three of us. All three of the teams are in Cancun. They're living it up. They're shooting some hoops down in Cancun. They're enjoying the weather.
My best player puts in work in the offseason. He has to eat cheeseburgers like James Harden. Best believe. My favorite player is
a Sixer.
Well, it applies to both of them. My best player is going to be winning MVP next year. So we're chilling. We good.
Not if Nikola Jokic has anything to say about it.
Okay. Just know Joel Embiid ain't getting in his way.
He's not.
Yeah, we know. Oh, we know. He's not getting in nobody's way.
I think LeBron has a better chance than Embiid to win MVP next year.
Yeah, that ain't happening. But insert that picture of Antonio Brown and Mike Tomlin. You know that ain't happening. Both ain't going to meet the game requirements. But Danny, you can give us a summit, man. Please just give us something to be happy about.
My summit, it sucked because it's kind of bad for you, but my favorite player, Jimmy Butler, is in the NBA Finals.
Hey, man, it's a cool story. I ain't a hater.
He's one of my favorite players in the league. I mean, I was a really big Ja guy, but I do not condone his activities. So until he cleans his behavior up, Jimmy Butler the number one for now.
Dude needs a whooping. But we can
it's kind of funny.
Chris.
It's kind of funny because Ja and Jimmy came from like the complete opposite backgrounds, and like Jimmy was like homeless on like the streets of Chicago, and Ja's like the suburbs.
A plummet. What is a plummet for me? Oh, I would say the one plummet is I don't see DeAndre Hopkins joining my favorite football team. So, hell, I hope he does be a Raven, but it doesn't look like it. Looks like he's gonna go somewhere else where he can shine. So that's not great. And also, Danny, I'll raise your plummet for my summit. My summit is the fact that the Lakers did lose, and that because he didn't have to make the finals. So I'm happy about that. I'm very proud.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying. I was debating on saying that's a summit or a plummet because now we don't have to care about who's the finals. We can just watch as fans.
Exactly. There we go. That's my summit. Yeah, I'm with that.
See, the Sixers, if we would have made the Eastern Conference Finals, we would have lost either way. So I'm happy we lost in the semis to the Celtics.
Yeah, my plummet, obviously, I'm not even going to say it's because the Celtics lost. Jason Tatum rolled his ankle on the first play from scrimmage. So we just didn't get to see a good basketball game. He's been the best player in the series. And And the only shot that the Celtics had at winning was him staying healthy. And that's the thing with a lot of people is like, oh, like if Luka had this stacked team, he'd have an MVP and he'd have a Finals MVP already. It's not true. This team is truly built for the structure of Jason Tatum. And if he goes down and you try to build you try to like, okay, well, Jaylen Brown plays a similar game. Let's try to do the same thing. It's not going to work, especially when the dude can't go to his left hand. And Derek White is taking big shots down the stretch, which is no disrespect to him. He's been awesome. But yeah,
all I got to tell you is
it was a tough watch.
Sixers Twitter, they were happy.
Well, the Sixers are a loser franchise, and they'll never win anything as long as I'm alive. So I could care less what they have to say. I don't really care what they have to say. Their best player is an annual playoff dropper, and they can expect to appear in no conference finals for as long as he lives in the city of brotherly love. That's what I have to say about that. Thank you. Not coming directly at you, but I'm coming at Sixers Twitter.
There's that one account. He was like, Jimmy Butler, have fun winning no rings in Miami. And then he was like, I'm happy that Jimmy beat the Celtics 2 years later.
Because Sixers fans didn't realize what they had until it was too late.
I realized, trust me, he's the best player.
The real ones knew. Come on, there was no real Sixers fan who was like, oh, yeah, give me someone who wants to be here over Jimmy Butler. Let's be serious. Y'all didn't want Tobias Harris over Jimmy. And that's the thing. It never even came down to Tobias. It was between Bruce Brown and it was like Bruce Brown and Brett Brown and Ben Simmons to Jimmy Butler. And they went with Simmons and Brown, who both were essentially out the door a couple years later. Nonetheless, while I am talking a lot of crap on the Sixers, the Celtics do have their own issues, and we're not going to try not to stay on this long. The Heat Nuggets is a very interesting series that we need to get to, but with the Celtics,
I'll pose you this question, Tom.
Yeah.
What do you do with Jaylen Brown? You want to trade him? You want to extend him? I've seen mixed takes. I've seen go get Dame Lillard and pair him with Tatum. I think they're in the same situation as they are right now if they go with Dame, except Dame's older than JB.
I'm fine with extending Jaylen Brown, but he cannot get 35% of their cap space. He cannot get $300 million.
That's what he's worth, though, man.
No, he's not.
That's what he's going to get.
Someone who can't dribble with their left hand is not worth $300 million. If they gave him 30% of the cap, which would essentially be $240 million, I'm fine with that because that 50. He's really getting $290 million. That $50 million gap can definitely you can plug in a very serviceable role player that can handle an extra facilitating load, which we just don't seem to have. And Jaylen Brown will just have to take a bump on the touches because if he gets the ball in his hand, the play is over. Like it's not going to anybody else.
I'll pose you one more question.
Go ahead.
Where do you see him if he's not a Celtic?
If he's not a Celtic, I can see them pulling. I wouldn't want to pull the trade with Portland unless it is for Damian Lillard. I'm not really interested in Anthony Simons and number 3 pick, which will probably be Brandon Miller. I would be ecstatic if the Hornets were delusional and skipped on Scoot Henderson and that fell to us. But you can't really rely on that. But Brandon Miller, he's a great player. But he's not. Neither of those guys are helping this team win now, which is what we need.
Don't trip. Jaylen Brown for Scoot Henderson would be a great trade.
I'm saying that we'd have to bank on Charlotte. We'd have to bank on Yellow Eyes messing up. So
how about JB, Rob Will, and Marcus Smart for Victor Wembanyama?
The Spurs aren't doing that. I would.
Yeah, they're not taking Marcus Smart. No thanks.
Yeah, no. That dude's been stinking the joint up. I need him to get back to playing some real defense. But nonetheless, out of any of this, Jason Tatum can finally get wrist surgery. So hopefully we get that 38% from 3 guy back. The guy I know, the guy I predict that could win an MVP, will be back. Jaylen Brown, I would gladly have him back. He's a 27-point per game scorer, but he can't take up that much of the cap space. It could end up being bad because Tatum Tatum could tear his ACL right now. They will still give him the extension that he is up for, which is going to be like $320 million. He'll be the highest paid player in NBA history, which is of course an overpay if you're putting it in that sense. But regardless, a young player, a 25-year-old about to hit his stride, is he's definitely worth it all. Now that you asked me some questions, I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Who are some target players you guys think the Celtics could go after?
Who they can go after? I think if the Celtics can go, I think if they lose JB, OG Anunoby would be a great fit for the Celtics.
Well, we wouldn't lose. JB's on contract for another year, so if we could essentially trade him, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the Celtics could legit talk to Toronto and try to get Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes is I think he's a higher trade value than Jaylen Brown. That's the problem.
You think?
Oh yes, Scotty Barnes is a
points though.
Yeah, hey, he's a 21-year-old Swiss Army knife. He's valuable. He's very valuable.
Yeah, he certainly is.
After Siakam, I feel like they're gonna move on from Siakam. I feel like Barnes is gonna be at their focal point. I think it'll be a little difficult, but for the Celtics, I think Tony said who would they trade for, right? Or who could they add as far as pieces go? Mm-hmm. I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day. And this may sound a little crazy, but I think Brown and Tatum's a duo you have to keep together. I mean, I'm with you on paying 35% of the cap as far as Jaylen Brown goes. That's a lot, but I think you do want to keep them together. And I think what helps them, I think you try to get Chris Paul for this reason why. Each place Chris Paul's went, he's raised the team, he's gotten them better, in my opinion. Before he got to the Suns, they weren't making the playoffs. Before the Clippers weren't even a real team till he got there. Bless you. And the Thunder went from nothing to making the playoffs when he was there. And I think at this point, Chris Paul will be 38, 39. I think he'll be 39. He's the guy to where Brown and Tatum will have to fight for shots. Not saying they're fighting each other, but they're both scorers, so you have to find a way to get past. But he's a two-guard converting to a point guard. Brogdon's a two-guard converting to a point guard. Derek White, they're scoring guards. So you don't really have a facilitator over there. I think getting them a real facilitator clears a lot of the problems you have, especially in-game. Because in-game, Jaylen Brown won't have 14 seconds to make a terrible play. He'll have 6 because you'll get him into the offense and you'll get him to his spot, and he has one option, and it's to shoot, which what he wants to do. You know what I'm saying? I think it helps the team. And I think Tim Legler said this on ESPN earlier. He said they need a downhill guard so he can play Tatum as the screener more times than not. Times you want the ball in the best player, and I get that. But he has to make every play. He has to guard the best player most times. It's a lot. So you get him a point guard to where he can be the roller, he can be the catch in space and make the next pass. I mean, I think it works wonders for the team and it opens up a lot. And you still can get your three-point shooters the ball. You still have the same team. You just have a guard. So I think they need a downhill guard that's not a two-guard converting to a point. So I like a Chris Paul. That's why I said I don't think I think Dame's great, but it's a similar problem. I think he makes better decisions towards the end of the game. A scorer at the end of the day. He's not necessarily a playmaker. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Another thing is this. I think the Celtics lacked one thing. Outside of their shooting was being horrendous. Their shooting's up and down. They shot lights out against the Sixers, and then they stunk the bed up against the Heat in Game 7. So you can see they're either going to shoot 50% or 20%. The last 5 quarters of basketball, they decided to shoot 20%. So they can't really do much about that. I think they can go out and go get a guy like Kelly Oubre or maybe Christian Wood this offseason. Try to add a small forward or a power forward that can kind of give them length. Because right now, their only power forward viable option is Al Horford.
Yeah, they ain't cutting it out. I think that's actually a very good idea. Some big man depth will be good for them.
No, it's kind of sad, man, because you're really rotating through Al Horford and Rob Will at center, and then you're just playing Tatum and Brown at the 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's
those are both different recipes for success. And what
Al's not gonna be around forever. That's all I'll say.
So, no, and I don't want him to be. And so CP3, the only thing, so CP3 on the Celtics would be dope because he's not going to need a lot of shots. The funny thing is imagining, because I think the only way we can match that cap space is if we were to send over Jaylen.
Smart and Brogdon got to go, right? Oh no, you can send Smart and Brogdon, right? And I think they need role players, not necessarily both of those guys,
Ye-
but other combinations I was thinking of.
So you
You
create a scary
Well,
team with Smart and Brogdon in Phoenix if that
That's what I
happens.
said. I think it helps both sides. I mean, you're getting lot
I'm not
younger,
even
so
sure off the top of my head if the money matches because Chris Paul is making a fat contract.
Yeah, he is.
Um,
I think
but
it's 38.
nonetheless, in a scenario where we had to trade Jaylen Brown over for like CP3 and like another role player and like a pick or whatever, um, the idea of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Jaylen Brown fighting for contested mid range jumpers makes me laugh. It makes me laugh a lot. But nonetheless, yeah, I like the idea of maybe like some backup, like front court depth. I like the idea of CP3, depending on the package we give up for it, because he's an all time like floor raiser. I mean, this team isn't on the floor, but he's also
Right.
he's elevated. James Harden's best year was with Chris Paul. And Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, he started to really push through once he started playing with Chris Paul, and then now you can see the dividends of that work. Devin Booker has now become a perennial all-star, all-NBA player, and he's alongside Christopher Emmanuel Paul. If you
One last option.
go ahead.
If the Celtics do decide to move on from Jaylen Brown and get younger, there's a guy who we're very familiar with who's a free agent named Kyrie Irving on the market. Pairing Kyrie with a now mature Jason Tatum and getting young players around those that could work.
You put a 31-year-old Kyrie Irving and getting younger in the same sentence that talked about 26-year-old
No.
Jaylen Brown.
I'm talking about trading Jaylen Brown for younger players like Scoot Henderson or Anthony
No.
Simons in the fourth overall pick or third overall pick.
No, not
And then
Anthony Simons is no. Anthony Simons is not who people think he is. No,
I
he's a
understand
cool
that.
20-point per game scorer and provides nothing else.
I agree with you. I agree with you there. But
Yeah,
I
no.
think
This team's not looking to
do you
get
think
younger.
the team gets
This
better if you get Kyrie, Scoot Henderson, and Tatum there?
well,
I don't think so.
no. Kyrie
And
would
I'll tell
not
you,
make this team better.
and this is why I say that. And like I said, it was definitely not moving Jaylen Brown over there. I think that'd be crazy. I was thinking more of a Horford and either smarter Brogdon to where it fits a need for both squads. Where I think if the Celtics were going to give some money to Grant Williams, I like Grant Williams as a serviceable four over there with Robert Williams, and you can move Tatum back to the three. That's kind of what I was thinking, because I don't think they need to change a lot. I think it needs to make a couple changes and maybe play Robert Williams more than 20 minutes in the playoffs. I don't know. But I think that'll help if Horford was gone, because they play him a lot at center because they like to move Tatum to the four. So that's what I was thinking, like a little retool. Not even. I don't think they should warn Dame. I wouldn't do it for Siakam. You have to have another superstar, in my opinion, if you're going to trade Jaylen Brown.
Or we could run it the Denver Nuggets way. Just Tatum and a bunch of dogs. But that's I don't know. Yeah, I don't like the idea of Kyrie on the team. And then alongside another ball dominant guard like Scoot Henderson, when I already am pleading for Jason Tatum to get the ball more. Nonetheless, let's actually talk about the teams that actually won their basketball games, because we spent way too much time on the bum ass Celtics. Heat versus Nuggets. Nikola Jokic or Jimmy Butler's getting their first ring. And the first question I want to pose is, whose legacy benefits more from a championship, especially a run of this caliber, where on Jokic's side, the Wolves wasn't nothing special, but then he takes out Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in 6 games. He then beats LeBron and Anthony Davis, of course, alongside the help of his team. Let's talk about this overall run by the team. They then sweep LeBron and Anthony Davis, who they were having a magical second half of the year run. And then you got the Heat, who were the AC. They were like 3 minutes away from just not being in the playoffs, and then they get in, upset like a hurt Bucks team, but Giannis definitely got back in time to do something about it, and nothing happened. They get to the second round. They beat a very entertaining Knicks team who defeated all odds this season. Definitely proved me wrong. And then got up 3-0 on championship favorite team Boston Celtics. Couple game slide, but then, to go back on the road in game 7 and get a very commanding win, regardless if, Tatum twisted his ankles or not, is still, it's impressive nonetheless. And, I just want to know who benefits more from a ring. Would it be Jokic and his squad, or would it be Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat?
I think the Denver. So I think the Denver Nuggets benefit more as a team from winning, but I think Jimmy Butler adds more to his legacy by winning. Jokic was the
I
one
could see.
seed. Jokic was expected to come to the playoffs and dominate. Jimmy
Oh
Butler,
no. Oh no. We're not doing. Name one person who picked the Denver Nuggets to win a championship.
not me. I'm not saying.
No
I
one.
said.
Not me.
I said.
No one.
I said come in the
No one.
playoffs and dominate. I didn't say win a championship because he came in the playoffs and dominated the first 2 series and the 3rd series.
What?
But
But what I'm confused on is that this was probably the most disrespected 1 seed I've seen in a while.
I agree.
He
with
was
you. It's
not.
very
They were not
disrespectful.
expected to come in. They weren't expected to come in and make a run. He's gonna dominate personally because that. I know. I get what you're saying. I do get what you're saying, but like we ain't gonna sit here and act like the Nuggets were the favorites for. They weren't
They were
even top.
disrespected. I agree.
They
But
weren't
like
even top 3 out of their
1
own
seed,
conference.
a 1 seed carries a different. I guess like knowing knowing they're a 1 seed, you expect them to be better. With the
The
Heat
Utah
being an
Jazz
8
were a 1
seed,
seed,
with Heat being I know, but the Utah Jazz we knew were fraud throughout the year.
and the Nuggets haven't. They didn't prove much else. A lot of people didn't pick them. That's all I'm gonna say. They were the most disrespected 1 seed I've seen in a while.
That's fair.
Go
Well,
ahead,
all
though.
I'd say is I think Jimmy Butler adds more to his legacy. Going from an 8 seed, 2 minutes away from being eliminated from the playoffs in a play-in game, to beating the 1, 2, and what the Knicks, the 5 seed, 6 seed.
5 seed, but they dismantled the 4 seed. Like that's a mean 5 seed. So yeah, it's even more special.
Yeah, so like, I think the Knicks actually gave aside like the Knicks were neck and neck with the Heat all game, every game. Like there was games where the Celtics looked lifeless. Like the Celtics battled back. I'll give them their props. Like they battled back from 3-0, something that 4 teams have only ever done. But the Knicks looked like they didn't have they were punching back, and that's something that the 2 other teams were not doing.
I feel it. Yeah. So Chris, who's benefiting more from a ring? Would it be Nikola Jokic or Jimmy Butler?
I kind of think the opposite of Danny here. I think the Heat as a whole benefit from a ring because it does a couple of things. It solidifies again Heat culture and the whole thing they've been preaching about. You can just plug in next man up, next man play. Like it literally would be the embodiment of that with Caleb Martin getting robbed. I mean Cody Martin, whichever Martin, getting robbed for
It was
MVP, I would say
Caleb.
that.
Cody's kicking in
Yeah,
Charlotte
Caleb.
still.
Cody's with my boy Melo, sorry. But yeah, Caleb, like I said, I think he got robbed for East Coast MVP, but all jokes aside, it's like it'll prove that Heat culture is a real thing and that you can kind of plug and play guys as long as you have guys going to play hard and good leadership. So I think the Heat would benefit a lot from winning as a whole. I say the Heat as a whole because I don't know what Jimmy's legacy really is. Like, and I'm not sure what this championship would do to solidify it because I don't really know exactly what it is. But I will say, I think Jokic, even over the Heat, I think he benefits the most of winning a championship out of anything. Like, been saying that his numbers are fluff, it's all because of the advanced stats, all these things. The 2 MVPs wasn't worth it. Like, people were saying a lot of stuff. And I think it'll prove that, like I said, he's on a magical run. He's on a Dirk-like run. I'll give that. I think he's on a Dirk-like run. And I think him getting a championship, it'll solidify him in that top 7 big man of all time. And I think that's huge because and the reason I said I don't think Jimmy Butler getting a ship would make him a top 10 swing of all time. And as unfortunate as that is, I think Jimmy Butler's a great player, but I don't think it really does that. I think for Jokic, of course, you got to count the Western Conference Finals MVP now, but he gets that and the Finals MVP to go along with 2 MVPs already. I think that's a real legacy mover for real.
In my opinion, if Nikola Jokic wins a Finals MVP, we talked about this on the last episode if you want to see him more in depth, but I think if he wins that Finals MVP, he's the 6th best center of all time. He's a 2-time MVP. He'll be a 1-time Finals MVP. And the thing with, like, revisionist, like, it's easy to look back at Dirk's run and be like, oh, he had no All-Stars and no All-NBA teammates. I'm like, yeah, well, he had some
Hall of Famers.
all right. Like, this wasn't the best version of Jason Kidd I've ever seen in my life, but damn it, it was Jason Kidd. Okay, like, come on, man.
And
We had
Sean
Jason
Marion,
Kidd.
by the way.
You ask
Sean
Sean Marion, who's never made an all-defensive team. Weird.
Which is kinda insane.
That's so out of context. He's he's a great wing defender and one of the best in the 2000s. And then Jason Terry, who's always been a guy who shot the lights out. But anyway, talk about the here and now. Nikola Jokic.
Oh, and Tyson Chandler, sorry.
And Tyson Chandler running the paint. But my point is with Nikola Jokic, like, it's still a great run. But what I'm saying, like, Jamal Murray's been nuts, and Michael Porter Jr. seems to just get better every single game. Bruce Brown is a dog. When he hits his shots, he's super effective. I would just say, like to be real, like a ring, like what does that do for Jimmy? But like, does it put him over Paul George all time? Like I don't know. I don't know exactly who we're leaping here, because like he doesn't have the accolades to leap a guy like, or the numbers of the accolades to jump a guy like CP3. But hey, he's gonna have a championship though. It's hard.
Well, here's crazy.
Jimmy
I'm
Butler is
putting him over
weird
Joel
run.
Embiid if he wins the championship.
I don't know how much you weigh MVPs in terms of and championships. Embiid would definitely be higher than Jimmy Butler when it's all said and done.
When it's all said and
In
done,
my
I
opinion,
agree. But
yeah, in my
but,
opinion,
like,
because Jimmy
when
Butler's
Jimmy's
34.
done
So
dragging your team through a championship.
oh no, we ain't doing that either. We are not doing that either. We're not doing that either. He hasn't been. He hasn't carried anything since the first round. In the Knicks series, he averaged 24 points per game, and he missed a game.
That's great.
That 24 points per game is great.
For him, yes.
No, it's not. No, it's not. That is not carrying.
I think that's the
team.
point. I think that's the point, Tone. I think that's the point, and I think that proves the point of how like much Jimmy would like jump somebody, because Jimmy hasn't had many PPG seasons, and he would be jumping like just ask this question: would you put now, if Jimmy Butler wins the championship, would you put him over Dominique Wilkins all the time? Probably not. And Dominique Wilkins doesn't have any. I don't think he doesn't have a championship. I'm almost sure. So that was my thing. I was like I don't know what a ship and the Finals MVP really does for him, like all time wise. Current players, yeah, but all time, I think it'd be difficult.
And to be quite frank, in the Celtics series, he put together like 2 full, entirely good games. 2. And he won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And his counting stats are going to look nice and cute next to Caleb Martin's, but 5 for 21 at home, Game 6 closeout game. He didn't turn it on until the fourth quarter, and they lost. You can look right at him because Caleb Martin played well. Caleb Martin shot 49% from 3 this series and 60% from the field. Like, his 19 points per game is so much more effective than Jimmy's 23. Like, it's not even funny. And Caleb Martin,
like, very good.
Yeah, no, I'm just telling you, like, Jimmy Butler's not doing the carry job that people think he is, and I needed to get that off my chest. Like, this dude is not, like, this isn't Dirk-esque. This isn't, like, D-Wade 06-esque. This isn't 2018 LeBron. Like, I'm telling you, this dude has dogs around him. Duncan Robinson has been awesome this series. He went from unplayable to freaking amazing. Caleb Martin went from 9 points per game to 19 points per game in the Eastern Conference Finals. Gabe Vincent's getting a bag from the San Antonio Spurs this offseason. Best believe it. And credit to all these guys stepping up. And then he is a top 5 coach ever. Eric Spoelstra is amazing. He lost Game 6 and got to the podium and was like, yo, if we could tip off right now, I'd do it. Because he knew. Like, it took 3 games to, like, really put the final stamp on it, but he knew what to do. So yeah, well, Jimmy's run has been amazing. I'm not doing that. He had a great first round. He averaged 38 points per game in the first round, but he did not carry them this playoff run. The Knicks played phenomenal on him. Yes, he had the hurt ankle and he sat out the game, but nonetheless. Who do y'all have? Heat or Nuggets, and in how many games? I would like to hear Danny first.
I'm going last, actually.
No, you're going first.
I'm taking the Miami Heat in 6 games.
Okay, and we had this conversation the other day. Do you have any logic to back it up outside of tomfoolery and the power of friendship?
No, I have a lot of logic. I think the Miami Heat can continue what they've done in the Eastern Conference Finals, can continue what they did in round 1, beating an upset, and can continue what they've been doing all year long, is upsetting better teams.
That's not bad.
That's like I said, the power of friendship and tomfoolery. because what they've been doing is shooting the ball well, and what the Nuggets have been doing is shooting the ball better. And they also have the best player in the series, and they also have the better second best player.
Bam
They
Adebayo
also-
has proven he can strap those big, lanky, goofy ass players like Giannis.
He couldn't
Embiid.
strap Robert Williams. Be for real. If Anthony Davis went out there and was getting 30-point triple doubles dropped on his head, I'm so cool off of Bam Adebayo trying to guard Nikola Jokic.
Day-to-Day was hurt. Come on.
Who was hurt?
Day-to-Day Davis was hurt.
No, he wasn't.
He was complaining about every single thing that happened to him.
So what does that have to do with him getting a 30-point triple double dropped on his head? He's the best perimeter defender at bats.
He's not fast enough. He's not fast enough for Jokic. Bam is.
It's not like he was getting beat off the drive. He was getting posted up. Like, it's not like Nikola Jokic is out here, oh, hezzy, cross, tween. Like, he's not doing that to nobody. Like, no, man. I don't know what you watched out of Bam last series to make you think that he's going to be able to stop Nikola Jokic. I don't know what you saw out of Nikola Jokic to make you think that anybody is stopping this man. But the man that has gave him the most problems ever has been DeAndre Ayton, and he lit his ass up for 34 a game.
Okay.
So,
Little John Stockton better.
Okay. Yep. We're falling back on the tomfoolery with that pick. Chris, who do you got? Heat or Nuggets, and in how many games?
I think it's going to be so crazy because I think it really depends on how game one goes. I know that sounds cliche because, I mean, every series depends on it, but I think the Heat can steal a game. I think they can win in 7 games. But because I don't think they're going to, and I'm going to stick with my guns that the Heat have to lose at some point, I got the Nuggets in 5. And the reason I have them in 5, I think the Heat get a game at home. And I'm sorry, I have the Nuggets in 6. I think the Knicks, I think the Heat will get 2 games at home. I think they will. But I think the other game, I think the Nuggets will just kind of outlast. I think one thing that Heat have been able to do is like kind of stop people when they had to, whether that's with the zone or just with their, regular man-to-man defense. And I've said on the show 50 times how I think Bam is the defensive player of the year every year because I think guards 1 through 5 better than anybody. But I think Jokic is going to give him trouble. Unless Spoelstra goes to zone again. I think Spoelstra is a smart enough coach to understand you have to mix the defense up against Jokic. So I think that'll be interesting too. Like I said, Spo and Mike Malone are really good coaches. And I think Mike Malone's an underrated coach for real. I think he's really
Game
so
6.
I'm excited to see the chess match that happens too in there. Well, go ahead.
Game 6 is the first time that he lost at home.
Yeah. And that's
No,
my
Game
thing, too.
4 was.
I think
They lost Game 4?
Yes, they lost Game 4 against the Celtics. Yes.
Yeah, 4.
Because if they didn't,
4, yeah.
we'd have this conversation
Yeah,
last
yeah,
week.
yeah. Apologies, yeah.
Jokic,
For 4 and 6.
No,
the
no,
first
you're
two
good,
lost
man.
at home.
I think Jokic helps if the Heat do play zone too. So I think the Nuggets have an answer for almost everything the Heat have pulled out so far as like matchups and schemes and stuff like that. So I think Jokic.
The Nuggets have not lost at home.
Really,
They haven't lost at home.
that's what I was saying. I think Jokic will really prove prove MVP and Finals MVP in this series. I think he's going to be the focal point of every single thing.
I'll tell you this: if the Heat can win one in Denver, it's going to be a very good series. I know Tony's picking the Denver Nuggets in 5 games, so
I am, because they're a better basketball team. There's not a single thing the Miami Heat do better than the Denver Nuggets. And that's the thing that I said in our conference finals episode, where I was like, the Celtics have the talent of the Nuggets, but they don't have the brains of the Nuggets. Like, they don't have the tendency to play stupid. Like,
they
the
have
tendency to go away from what works.
The Celtics have Nuggets for a brain.
I think the
Brown.
big difference, the big difference between those teams is Mazzulla and Malone, where Malone doesn't play that. Like, he doesn't play. Like, this is by far the best coach that Spoelstra has seen in the playoffs since, I guess, Ime Udoka last year, and he still outcoached Udoka. It just came down to the Celtics being super talented and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum playing awesome. Yeah, I'm going to take the Nuggets.
It came down to Jimmy Butler missing that 3.
Oh, well, that's Jimmy Butler's fault. He had Al Horford one-on-one and decided not to bust his ass and go to the rim. He decided to go for the win because he was tired and did not want to do overtime because he knew what was going to happen.
He pulled a Steph Curry.
Exactly.
A foot further, and we wouldn't be talking about the Heat going back to back.
But he didn't. He left it Shorty Popinski because he can't shoot threes.
That's what he popped
I
in.
can't- and yesterday he was on one, on shooting threes.
Hey, that's phenomenal for him. Yeah, he doesn't take them a lot, and he don't make them a lot either. But he was hitting yesterday. Yeah, Jokic is. Here's the thing: the zone I don't think will be as effective on the Denver Nuggets, simply because the mastermind on the court is Nikola Jokic. If they do the same thing the Celtics did, where they get Jokic in that foul line area and just dump it to him, and then he's looking around looking for shooters, he could easily just pump one dribble, just floater. Like he's capable of doing that.
That's what I'm
'Cause-
saying.
Yeah. So
But he
I
is the
think
most annoying player to watch.
who Jokic?
Yes, it's so
Embiid
annoying
fan.
to watch.
Embiid-
him.
Like I said,
Embiid
not
guy,
gonna
by
go
the
in,
way.
and they do.
Embiid guy, by the way.
Hey, let me tell me ask you this question right quick before we move on.
Mm.
When we do, I would
Yeah.
talk to my homie and one of my old coaches about when he waited too late. He waited to game 4. I don't know if you remember this. He waited to game 4 to actually put Jason Tatum in the middle of the zone, which was so weird to me because he was playing 5 shooters, or most times playing Horford at the 5 and then having shooters on the court. It was so weird to me that he waited 4 games to put Tatum in the middle of the court, to where now you have your best player and best decision maker, in my opinion, with the ball in his hands, one-on-one against. I mean, you're against their best defender, but if he starts cooking a little bit like he did, they had to start helping, and you get open threes instead of contested step back, Marcus Smart threes. So I just want to know.
The Celtics
Yeah.
hit contested threes against the Sixers. They missed open threes against the Heat.
Because Tobias Harris out there, they didn't respect him. They thought it was J. Cole.
You
They don't
keep
respect
bringing
him,
up
bro.
these goddamn Sixers like your best players didn't combine for 24 points. They ain't lose because the Sixers were the Celtics were making their shots. Y'all lost because Embiid and
maxes.
Harden stunk up the joint for 2 fucking nights in a row.
If
Damn
Tatum didn't hurt his ankle, then I could say the same thing. But I respect Tatum.
I mean,
Free-
even if you
free
didn't, he rolled his ankle. Where Danny Cole's respect does not lie on like his ankle rolled regardless. Like he sprained his ankle regardless on the first play of the game, and he doesn't have any like. If this was like third quarter, yeah, you probably play through it. Like you could probably play pretty normally. You got adrenaline at that point, but to do it in the first quarter, and then you get pulled with 4 minutes left, which is still the stupidest thing that Joe Mazzulla has ever done, is pull Tatum first out of anybody. And then he didn't get back in until the second quarter, and then it was halftime. It's just like he never really got to get going. But nonetheless, I got Nuggets in 5. Chris has Nuggets in 6. Danny has tomfoolery and the power of friendship in 6. And this could be good hoops. Like I do have it in 5, but I do have the
Like a
Nuggets in
Lakers-
5, but I
Nuggets
do think
series
this is
5.
going to be awesome. I do think
Like
it's
an
going to be
all-close game.
awesome. Like no blowouts, like straight clutch moments. Jamal Murray and Jimmy Butler going shot for shot while Nikola Jokic abuses Bam Adebayo. Caleb Martin coming down to earth and averaging 9 points per game again, because we all know that was fake, not real. And Gabe Vincent's going to be back on his New York stuff, and he's going to be the one averaging 18 points per game, because I'm messing with both of them, but I need to see Caleb. It's either Caleb Martin still averages 19 points per game and I live with it, or I don't know. Actually, you know what? Maybe either way I won't with it. Maybe the Boston Celtics just birthed a star, or
Be happy
Or-
about it. Maybe he's gonna be a Celtic eventually.
He was a
Look,
Laker at a point in a practice facility. Just want to let y'all know.
yes, he was.
He was.
Max
Gross
Strus was a
as shit.
Celtic at one point. That
He
was
was.
dope. But let's get into our fun segment where I can stop yelling about tomfoolery and stuff. We are going to be drafting all-time ringless players. So how it works is we're drafting the best players that never won a championship. I'll get the first pick. Chris gets the second one. Danny will get the third pick and then the first pick of the next round, because we're doing it in a snake draft. And now that I think about it, this is kind of hard, and I'm kind of just going off vibes here. But I'm gonna take Allen Iverson with my first pick because he's cool, and I really
I like
can't think
that.
of anyone else right now.
I don't mind that. That's really valid. For my first pick, I'm going with one of my favorite players of all time, Tracy Cried the Podium McGrady. That's my guy. T-Mac has no rings, and it's a real tragedy, and I hate it for him. But T-Mac's one of the greatest scorers I've ever seen with my 2 eyes. So T-Mac's my guy.
I like that. With my first pick, I'm going with one of my favorite players, Russell Westbrook.
Nice. That's what I was gonna pick. Low key.
That's good pick. And then you got another, so you could pair a little something nasty with Russell.
And if you pick who I think you're picking, you just snap like I thought you would.
Mm.
Am I in your brain, Danny? Am I in your brain?
Philadelphia 76er. He got drafted the same year as Jordan. Give me Charles Barkley.
Oh,
nice.
nice. Got the round mound.
I thought
Damn
you
it.
was gonna go somewhere else. But I'm gonna go there since you didn't. I got it. I'm gonna get Westbrook's old backcourt mate, James and T-Mac. Yeah.
Yo,
I like that.
That's just a whole lot of that's just a whole lot of buckets if we're being quite honest.
Our defense won't be great, but who cares?
So I picked Allen Iverson. I don't really want to go with another guard. But damn it, there's a fair share of bigs out there that have not won a title, and I'm not gonna go in a certain man's direction. But I do need a bit. I'm not gonna draft like Jokic or anything because like
he was gonna be first on my list.
yeah, I ain't gonna draft Jokic. I'm not doing that. I'm actually gonna go with LeMickey, who's actually 0-10 in the final. I'm just playing. This might be. I don't know if this is an underrated pick. I'm gonna pick Paul George again. This is all off vibes, man. Allen Iverson and Paul George on the same team. That's so smooth. That's so vibes. That's just like buckets. Like we just roll with it.
Life dream. It's a baller's life dream.
Oh, and then I guess I would have the last pick because this has to be my third pick. Man, who would I? With my third pick. You know what? Give me. Oh no, I can't even say. I was gonna say Dwight Howard. He got that. He got that ring right in the pine in the bubble. All right. Wow. Now I gotta dig deep for like a good. But I don't have to dig too deep. I could probably think of like a couple guys. You know what? Just it's all vibes. I'll take Chris Paul. I'm gonna take Chris Paul.
Like that.
It's all vibes. It's bag stuff. We're not rebounding. We're just gonna score and have fun. Win, lose, or draw. Just have fun. And then Chris and then Danny gets the last pick.
Good Lord. Well, yeah. Well, point guard. Well, James Harden. I have Point Harden. Also, have
then you got T-Mac.
Tracy McGrady. I need somebody who can shoot the ball. Head player Reggie Miller. Now I have James, Reggie, and T-Mac. So we gonna score.
Reggie was going to be my pick, but instead I play bully ball and get Dominique Wilkins.
Damn it. That was my.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, make sure y'all comment down below who has the best team. I don't expect anyone to pick mine, but if you're cool, you will. If you understand where I'm trying to go, you see the vision.
You trying to tell me Russ, Charles Barkley, and Dominique Wilkins wouldn't win you a chip?
Well, they couldn't win a chip themselves, so I don't know. Yeah, they have it. That's the point of this. None of these dudes would.
In Alaska. He's gonna lead me
Yo, I have a great idea. Ready? So you take all the NBA players who hadn't won a chip in their career, and you get them on a 3-on-3 tournament. So someone is bound to win a championship.
Mine wins for vibes. I mean, Allen Iverson's made it to one with the Dikembe Mutombo as his second best teammate. Paul George took Miami Braun to 7, and Christopher Emmanuel Paul was a hammy away from his first final. So, hey, man. Yeah.
Throwback to when Paul George was getting gamed every single time. Dame Lillard, bye-bye.
And you know what? I respect that more. I highly respect that because it takes a real man to just go out there and guard because whoever's shooting the game winner is probably the hottest player on the court. Shout out Paul George. He going out there guarding the hottest man on the court every single time. Yeah. And he just getting gamed. And like a lot of the times it's just like shots you just shouldn't put up. Like it's just the shots aren't real and he plays good defense. But yeah, nonetheless, it was another fun episode. Of course, we'll be back next week. This is getting recorded on Tuesday. It's going to be out on Wednesday. But, yeah, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, the finals, they shouldn't be over by then. And hopefully, it's not 3-0 by then. I hope both teams are winning some type of games at the very least. But then again, make sure you subscribe, like on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on audio platform, make sure you pre-download, like, give us a 5-star rating so that we can climb the charts for sports podcasts. Danny and Chris, anything to say before we get on out of here?
I got nothing to say.
I have if we were going to pick 5 players, I was going to pick Patrick Ewing at the 5, and I didn't have a power forward because I was going to pick Charles Barkley. Thanks a lot, Danny. Yeah, that's it. I know it really didn't mean anything, but I want to share that with everybody who's listening.
Yeah, no, I was thinking of a certain power forward, but I was just like, no. No, and I think we're all connecting here due to Danny saying Lil John Stockton earlier. And I was thinking about picking John Stockton too, but no, he's a weirdo as well. So
I was going to pick Kevin Garnett, but I forgot he got that fake championship with Doc Rivers. No offense to him. It's no offense to you. It's only offense to Doc Rivers.
No. Doc Rivers is so fake, bro.
Man,
so
if I had to add a 2-guard and a center to my team, give me Vince Carter and Dikembe Mutombo.
You gotta watch out for those.
Did Mutombo get one? No, he didn't. Yeah, he did.
See, you gotta watch out for those like sneaky old people who just got one near the end of their career, like Jason Kidd, sneaky old person who got one at the end of his career.
Steve Nash didn't get one coaching or on the court.
Steve Nash was a pick that I definitely just flew by, but I picked Allen Iverson with my first pick, so
loser.
I'll live with it. Oh, Elgin Baylor too. Didn't Elgin Baylor go like 0 for 8? Oh, we didn't pick Melo. Oh man. Oh, we might stink.
Bad Melo, sorry.
We stink.
Nah. Melo not a top 9 player, man. All the players that we got.
Melo's. I think Melo's probably better all the time than Paul George, but George has vibes. Yeah. If we were to make some last second switches, and then Kyrie, Kyrie is one of the most clutch moments ever in finals history, but he's so ringless in my mind. He's so ringless.
Because you forget about that.
Exactly. He's so ringless in my head because he won so early. And I'm not gonna pick. I wasn't gonna pick guys like Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. That's just.
I was gonna pick DeMarcus Cousins. He was on my brain. I just saw a highlight of him the other day. I like Boogie, so I was thinking about it.
Yeah. But nonetheless, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode from DC, CB, and AP. We will catch you guys next week.